In the past, literary work was able to stand upon its own merit as a work as a whole, without a need for visual art to show its representation. An example, the first edition of The War of Words by H. G. Wells, published by Heinemann in 1898, has only a gray cloth cover with black lettering upon it. These days, a book would never be published in with such a simplistically formatted cover. In today's mass-mediated consumer market, if a literary work isn't linked with some format of visual art, it's less accessible. We have to convince our readership through visual art, in the form of a book's cover, that it's worth taking a closer look at. With the surge of technology and gradual increase in the popularity of e-book formatting over traditional print in the literary world, visual art in the form of cover art has become a necessity. The level of professionalism and design of a novel's cover is oftentimes what draws a reader in or repels them, not the content of the pages within. Before they ever have a chance to read an introduction to the literary work by the way of informative blurb, they see a visual representation of what is beyond the cover. It is in this way that the visual imagery has become critical to the success of a novel. There is a reason that the old age adage, "don't judge a book by its cover," isn't applicable in a literary manner rather than a metaphorical one in today's visually overstimulated society. I think the marketing strategies behind cover art and visual imagery linked to certain novels has had a slightly negative impact on the literary fiction industry. If we were to base the popularity of a particular book or series on the merit of the content alone, there would be a disparity between what has become popular versus what is considered foundationally sound faction. An example, Fifty Shades of Grey by E. L. James, is a romantic novel with weak characters, laudable plot devices, poor quality of prose, and an unrealistic perspective of BDSM. To say that professionally critical reception of the work has been mixed is an understatement. Still, it's made the #1 New York bestseller list, sold over 70 million copies worldwide, and set the record as the fastest-selling paperback of all time. What does that say about the commonplace reader in our mass-mediated world? The visual imagery associated with a specific literary work can incite a reason to overlook the quality of a book in the first stages of review. They are no longer selling good plots, characters, and explosive conflict. We have to sell a marketable image to pair with it, or face certain failure. Well, that's an easy one. Sexual objectification of women, the privilege of wealth, and the necessity of luxury. I'm not sure that the literary world can be attributed to the creation of any one particular source of imagery, but we closely follow the popular trends. An example, I think that the popularization of women, which society would categorize as beautiful on the covers of romantic fiction, directly draws off the images and visual entertainment industry has produced. My favorite style of visual art is centered on early westernizing printmaking. Artists like Erhard Rueck, Michael Wolfmuth, and especially Albrecht Dürer. As both an artist and a writer, I find inspiration in the symbolism in famous artworks. Salvador Dali is a good example of a person whose work is only thoroughly understood with an understanding of the man behind the brush. In literary work, I strive to leave these subtle clues to stimulate that unconscious recognition of the mind. I want readers to be able to have a great understanding of my work, the meaning behind it, and be able to have that aha moment once they are able to apply that level of critical thinking.